Welcome, everyone, to the Trend Report podcast. I'm glad that you're here today for what I know is going to be another great conversation. I'm excited to welcome my guest today, Laura Guido-Clark with Love Good Color. How are you, Laura?
I'm great, Sid. I'm so excited to be here.
So I'm really excited because I discovered Laura through a friend, actually a previous podcast guest. Those of you might remember listening to Brian Graham talk about design and designing products. And I was telling Brian that I was looking for a color theorist. For somebody to talk to about color. And he goes, "Oh, you have to talk to Laura." And so I made the connection. She didn't diss me when I told her that I was referred by Brian. So sorry, Brian, I got to pick on you. And now here we are recording a podcast. So I'm grateful for that introduction. So Laura, tell everybody a little bit about what it is that you do.
So my world really revolves around the power of color. It is something that I believe we all know, but sometimes we become afraid of. And so I've spent my entire career working with Fortune 500 companies, applying color in really meaningful ways. But it's the humanity of color that I love the most. It reminds us that we're real, that we're alive, and that we're human. And it's why I'm so passionate about color.
So, and I love that, the humanity of color. So, can you explain a little bit more about what that means, the humanity of color?
Sure. I believe that we live in a world of color. We not only see color, but we feel it. It's a wavelength. And so I believe that it allows us to express who we are. It makes us feel things in spaces. It connects us to people. There are just so many wonderful things about color. And the more I learn about it, the more humble that I feel about it, because I feel that there's so much to learn.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Laura, how did you get into this? Because you started your career as an interior designer, correct?
Well, I never practiced interior design. I actually studied interior design, but I always loved color. I loved color ever since I saw The Wizard of Oz. I loved color when I was working on my design projects in school. And then I ended up working at a multi-line rep group, and I had to clean the textile room. And it was like all these sounds and these lights went off, and I kind of felt like I was at home. I had all these colors around me and textures, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I'm supposed to be here. And it was a wonderful feeling. And that's kind of how my career started, in the textile part of
In the
color.
textile room of an independent multi-line rep group,
Yeah.
where they said, "Go clean up the samples," and all of a sudden, you fell in love with texture and color, and that's pretty.
Yeah.
I just love it. I mean, we all have a story of how we got to where we are
Mm.
and doing what we're doing, and that's pretty awesome. So, you actually are also a designer, meaning you've designed your own collections and things of that nature. So, tell us a little bit about that and what's that like.
So I have designed collections of textiles for other companies, but what I have worked on and created is my own color system. And I'm incredibly excited about it, because what I found was that color was hard to articulate. There wasn't a way for us to express our needs or why we were doing what we were doing in color. And I was always in the middle of these conversations between design and marketing, saying, why don't you go talk to them, because they don't really understand what we're trying to do. And I realized that in the conversation of color, we've kind of detached it from emotion and words. And by that, I don't mean color psychology, but this deep connection between how we feel about color as a multisensorial experience and how we express it in our vocabulary. And I wanted to bring those closer together.
Okay. So how do you express color in your vocabulary?
So what happens sometimes is that people can express very easily what they like or what they don't like, or that something is classic or on trend. But for me, when I think about color, I think of the end result or the impact. So what I want to understand is what it is or who it is we're trying to express, whether it's a company or whether it's a person, and how they want to feel in that particular space. Once I understand those, we give them words, we help them with words, we can articulate it and connect it to what we call temperaments. And that's exciting because people understand that there's a purpose and a way of working with color that actually has an extended meaning. And that makes me
Yeah.
happy.
So as you were answering that question, I just all of a sudden had this vision about like color really makes you feel something. And, whether it's red or yellow or blue or green, or it evokes emotion in you, right? And you feel things, which I think is really, really interesting. And then what you help people do is articulate the color in voice and what it means and how it portrays in their brand and what does it stand for in their brand. And it actually kind of talks for the brand. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, it's the nuance of it, Sid. You see, color has a spectral family that's red, but it's actually the saturation and the brightness that actually affects us even more. And so we are used to talking about things in a color family, but it's more than that. And that's what the system is trying to do, is to give you the nuance meaning and help you identify what it is so that you can help get the impact that you want.
That is so interesting. I mean, I've never really thought about color this way, right? And I'm sure a lot of people listening to the podcast have not thought about color this way either, because we see it and yes, it does make us feel something, but we don't really think of how deep into this that we should actually be. So this is actually really fascinating. So I want to ask you, like, what is the color? Because like my favorite color is blue. And I don't know if you just heard my Southern accent come out there. I just really came out there. Sorry, listeners. Oh my gosh. So, but my favorite color is blue. So it's in my brand. It's a different shade of blue. But like, give me an example. Like, what does that mean? Without knowing me all that well, what does it mean that I like blue and that I use blue in my brand?
Well, it's really about what shade of blue, but I want to connect and tell you why blue is your favorite color. And that is that a color becomes someone's favorite when it's the sum total of all the positive experiences that you've had with that color. And so, Sid, you probably had many lovely experiences with blue, and many people have. It's the most popular color globally, but it isn't surprising when you think of the sky and water and all these lovely, calming, natural influences that blue has.
Mm-hmm.
So it just really is about the particular shade of the color that you love, but as a color family, it's that you've had very positive experiences with blue, and many, many people have.
So I love this, that we determine our favorite color by the positive experiences that we've had with that color. I guess the same is true for colors that we don't like, that represent negative things that have happened in our life.
Yeah, and that is why I feel very respectful when people tell me they don't like a particular color. It's not something you want to force on people. It could be a cellular memory. It could be something that has come up that they don't feel good about. But if you can have a conversation and show them several ways of that color being mixed with other things, oftentimes they dislike the color less. So if you can show them ways of working with that particular color that balances it or brings on another meaning, it dissipates. The dislike dissipates. And so that is an interesting thing in and of itself too. But I like to be respectful of my clients and what their needs are, and because they feel something, and you don't want to push that on anyone. And it's exactly why when I love yellow greens, I've loved them forever. I think they work with everything, but the associations with yellow green colors aren't always positive. And so for a lot of people, they don't like that color. And so, like I said, it's about the experience or what it may connote.
That's interesting. I mean, this is all really fascinating. So I want to talk about something that you're doing that you're really passionate about. Before we do that, though, what's it like to design a textile? I mean, that takes so much creativity to design a textile. And I know you've got one example in in your office on a chair, that one of the leathers that you designed. But I mean, what's it really like to design a fabric or a leather?
Well, it's such a wonderful experience. And, you know, in my work with Herman Miller, one of the things that I found added another dimension was that the textiles that I worked on were very specific and functional. So, for example, when we remastered the Aeron chair, that pellicle had to serve that particular chair and all the needs of the chair. So it made it not agnostic. It was a functional product. And
Mhm.
I love solving puzzles. So I think having these intrinsic needs was really exciting to work backwards. And it took a whole team of us to really work on this, particular project. But it's so rewarding when you figure it out,
That's
and that
awesome.
it works. That
So
part
in
of it
that
is
case, it was
exciting.
about function, but I would imagine you get to use quite a bit of creativity when designing a textile or a pattern or a collection of patterns. And if you're a creative like you are, that's got to get you like really excited about your creating this.
Oh, it's incredible because you really start to think about the sky as the limit and what is it that you want to say and how are you going to use these yarns, these colors, these textures to evoke what you want it to say. And I love those projects.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Laura, where do you get your inspiration from?
I really get my inspiration a lot from nature. I love
Okay.
being surrounded by nature and also from traveling. I think that traveling is a really wonderful way for you to let go. I think it's when your mind is open and wandering and you take things in and you notice things that you may not normally notice in your day-to-day life.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what's so important about breaking patterns and getting out of your day-to-day.
Yeah, there's so much there, honestly, about that. But I love that you um put travel in there because there's so much beauty in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's just to look at things, whether they're natural or whether they've been built. There's so much beauty in the world. And one of the things that comes to my mind right this very minute is this spring break. My family and I went to the Grand Canyon
Mm,
and never been before. And we walk up the little hill from the train station because we rode the train, and we walk up the hill from the train station, and all of a sudden there's this enormous hole in the ground. But I mean, it's just stunning,
yeah.
and all the colors. It's just so beautiful to, but I mean, it is literally it's something amazing to behold.
It is amazing. And what you bring up is something that I'm very passionate about, which is the idea of beauty being a human right, that we all
Mm,
deserve beauty because it feeds us in a very different way. One could argue that it doesn't give us sustenance, but I would say that it gives us another kind of sustenance and a way of seeing the world and ourselves in a very different way. So I love that you brought up how much beauty there is in the world.
well, and you just hit on it. There's beauty in the world, but there's also beauty in you, right? In each and every one of us. And which kind of brings me to my next question, which is there's something about color, especially in whether it's in your clothing or on the wall in your room, that just makes you feel better. It
Yes.
like literally mentally changes your psyche around things.
Yes, it does. It is one of the most powerful mediums. I also feel that it's connected to many of our senses and taste and sight and sound and many, many different things. And because it is a wavelength and we forget that the wavelength is something that we feel, I feel it becomes even more powerful. But it can shift the way that you feel. You could be walking through an ordinary space. And this is what I loved about the Wizard of Oz was it was all in sepia tone. But when she walked into Oz, the brightness and the saturation levels were so great that you knew this was a happy place
Mm,
and you felt something was going to happen that was a new way of her seeing the world and perhaps herself, and that's my older self speaking. At 10 years old, I didn't feel that, but I knew Oz was magic.
Yeah. And I think using the Wizard of Oz as an example is just perfect about how color evokes emotion and feeling in all of us, because the way you described it, I mean, watching Dorothy walk through the sepia black and white and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And you're spot on. It does. When she did that, you really felt like you knew this was a fun, happy, exciting place. Oh, that you wanted to be.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's awesome. So now, Laura, your business, Love Good Color, how long have you been in business on your own?
Well, I've been in business for over 25 years.
Okay, wow.
My consulting firm, and Love Good Color is about 3 years old. It's a new venture, but it took about 9 years of research, and it came to market about 3 years ago. And we've been teaching, but we've also been doing deeper engagements, working with clients to use color in a profoundly impactful way. And that's exciting.
That's fun. Now, when you say teaching, tell me what you're teaching.
So we teach classes that are about the system, which is really fun. Teaching is really fun for me. And it's really about helping, well, it could be anyone, learn new ways of applying color through the senses, through science, and with impact.
Okay, awesome. Now, you're working with manufacturers of office furniture. You're working with, can you tell us a little bit, like, who do you work with generically?
Well, I've worked with many, many companies. I think right now, my focus is more with Love Good Color and growing the strategic part of it.
Okay.
And so that's where my focus is right now, in those types of engagements.
So, and through all of this, you created a nonprofit organization. Would you share with us a little bit about your nonprofit project, Color Corp, and what you're doing with it? Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you just saw how Laura lit up when I mentioned that. So if you're just listening to the audio, that brought a huge smile to her face. So tell us about this. Is obviously very passionate and something very near to dear to your heart. So tell us about Project Color Corp.
Yes, it is really near and dear to my heart, because it really speaks to this idea that I spoke about earlier, which was about beauty being a human right. And in 2011, almost 10 years ago, I founded Project Color Corp. And what I noticed was how impactful color was for my clients. And I wanted to bring that impact to underserved neighborhoods, where I saw that some of the spaces were bland and almost prison-like. Mm-hmm. And the foundation of the program is based on education. This idea that we go into the schools and we teach the kids in the community about the power of color. And for me, that's where it all begins, because I feel that for the kids, they get to learn something new and know that color is something powerful that they could use in their own lives. And they become co-designers of their space. And this is what is impactful about it, is that they are really in there with us, designing their spaces, and that in the end, these spaces are a reflection of their inner beauty, and they get to see it every day.
That's awesome. Now, tell me again, how many years you've been doing this?
Our 10-year anniversary is this October.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Now, so you go in there, you teach them about color, and then they co-design something.
Yes.
And that is really a reflection of their inner beauty.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're in there with us. They get to vote. They're in there with us all the time. We work with professional designers. So the designers really listen to everything that the kids say, and then the kids vote on the one that they like the most, but they're a reflection of their words, the things that they say.
That's awesome.
And honestly, I learned a lot for Love Good Color about how kids understood not what their favorite color was. That didn't teach me anything. But when I would say, how do you want to feel when you come to school? I had a huge dialogue, and that's what's missing
Oh,
is the dialogue. So,
okay. So they answer when you ask them that question, they really went in and told you how they
mhm.
want to feel when they come to school.
Yeah,
And that's a direct correlation to what the school looks like, the colors that are being used, how they're dressed, how that color makes them feel.
absolutely.
So that also explains, especially in newer schools that you see being built, and also
Mhm.
in like you see a lot of use of bright colors. You see a lot of use of multicolor things. You see patterns made out of VCT floor tile in the floor that's cut into patterns using a lot of different color. So that explains a lot about why you see that. And I guess the same would be true for like a pediatric hospital facility, because they're always bright and cheerful, and
Yes.
that's by design for a reason.
They're happy and they're reflective of the kids and their emotions. The kids always the biggest word, we do these word clouds, and the biggest word is always, I want to feel happy.
Feel happy.
Yeah. And then it's excited. And then it differs by the community, which is, I think, exciting, right? It's differing by the
Mhm.
community. And I love that part of it because it's also a reflection of the things that they feel. Like one community, it was about sparkly. I never had that word in other
Did
facilities,
you
but
say sparkly?
yeah,
Sparkly like a
yeah, the kids
sparkle,
wanted to
okay.
feel sparkly. And so we did a color palette called Sparkly Proud. That's they want to feel proud. Their words are amazing,
That's
really
awesome.
amazing.
So I'm curious, sparkly proud,
Mhm.
when I hear that, I think about silver and gold, and I think about like sparkles, like on the 4th of July kind of thing, like sparklers that you wave. Did it turn out like purple? I mean, like gold and silverish color?
We didn't really use metallics in the paint because that would have been, but what sparkled was the qualities of color and the way they look together. And that's what created kind of the
Oh,
sparkle. And the kids say amazing things, and they are the influencers of how we look at pattern. For example, one of the kids said, could you create a space where color were like friends standing together all in a row? And we did these stripes of really beautiful colors to reflect, the solidarity of kids standing and
oh my
color standing
gosh.
like friends. And so they are prolific.
Mhm.
And they're, I always say I get way more, way more than I ever give because their energy is so beautiful.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about donating your time, right? Is if you're open to it, you can receive the gifts that are given to you. And typically those gifts are much greater than what you're giving. You're getting so much more out of it than what you're actually giving. So Laura, tell me, where's the nonprofit? Where are you located?
So, Sid, we were founded here in Berkeley,
Mhm.
which is where I'm from, but we proudly are now in 3 other locations. We are in Portland, in Chicago, and in New York, and we have chapter leaders in each of those areas who are leading in really wonderful ways, and we have several projects going on now, one in Portland and one in Chicago. So, it's very exciting.
That's awesome. So Laura, if people wanted to get involved in the nonprofit, what's the best way for them to, whether they wanted to donate their time or donate materials? I'm not sure what all you need, but I know that nonprofits are always in need. So if people wanted to get involved with their time or donations, what's the best way for them to reach you guys or to do that in San Francisco, Portland, Chicago, and New York?
So if you go to our website, www.projectcolorcorp.org, and it's Project Color, corps.org, you will learn a tremendous amount about our organization. And there is an area that says Join Our Color Revolution. And we would
Ooh.
love for you to join us.
Okay, I
So,
love that right there. The color revolution. I love that.
mhm.
That's great. We will drop the link to the website down in the show notes for
Thank
those of
you.
you listening. You're welcome to go down there and click and learn more about what Laura and her team there are doing, and get involved. If you're in one of those areas and you want to get involved or you want to make a donation, that'd be great too. Again, I just can't tell you the smile that comes up on Laura's face when you mention this is just like awesome. And it's just what you're doing is really good stuff and impacting the lives of those less fortunate, but also teaching them a little bit, giving them a glimpse about what's possible and a little bit into our industry, right? And a little bit into what it is we do. And you're exposing young people to hopefully new ideas and new things that they can see a much brighter future than their current position.
Well, it's exciting for us as designers to use the things that we know how to do in a really positive way. So I love when I see design firms step forward and they talk about how meaningful these projects are to them. And
Yeah.
that really matters because we're all looking for ways that we can give back. And through your talent, like the designers who come forward, we have nothing but gratitude. They're incredible, and they're using their talents and making the world a way better place.
Well, I think this is, again, so fascinating. I never really thought about color being this deep, right?
Mhm.
The blue is a blue is a blue. But I, you're laughing at me because that's how sometimes I feel really shallow right now because blue is blue is blue, but it actually really does have meaning.
Yeah,
And I'm going to I'm going to pay more attention to how color makes me feel
yeah,
because, or what emotions that it strikes with me, because I know it has the power to make me feel better. I also know it has the power to make me feel bad, but I haven't paid much attention to that, like the part that brings me down. But in general, I'm just going to start paying more attention
yeah.
to how color makes me feel and what emotions that it evokes. It evokes in me because it's important.
That makes me happy that you're thinking that way. I always think of the movie, I think it was Pleasantville, and it all started in black and white. But once people came into their own and they understood their own humanity, their own heart, they were in color.
Yeah, you have
It's
such great analogies. That it was Pleasantville
yeah.
that started all black and white, and I love the analogy that you used with it. And it's just so fascinating to talk to someone who's so passionate about something that honestly a lot of us don't even think about. And you're studying it, you're researching it, you're sharing it, you're working with clients, help them understand it, and you're doing really, really good things in the world. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's so kind, Sid. I appreciate it. I'm doing what I really love to do. And
Mm.
that I think is important. And I feel very grateful to our design community because they're so generous and because I feel that I've been given all these chances to do work that I really love.
So I'm going to echo something that you just said. I'm doing what I love to do. There is so much joy and satisfaction that comes from doing what you love to do. And, I've been in the furniture business my entire career. And 4 years ago, I started my own business doing coaching, consulting, and training. And I always really, really enjoyed my jobs. Wherever I was, I really enjoyed my jobs. I loved traveling, meeting new people, selling, because the core, that's who I am. But today, I really love my job.
Oh,
I
that is,
really love what I am doing. And having entered the world of entrepreneurship, as you know, is not a it's not a paved road that goes straight uphill,
no,
right? It's bumpy
no,
and has lots of ups and downs. But,
yeah.
it's just something to be said for I enjoyed my corporate world. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it.
Hmm.
I love what I'm doing today. And there's just
Yeah.
something about a life well lived when you can do what you love to do.
Well, and we all feel it. We feel it from you in the way that you
Oh.
ask questions and your energy. And I think everything is energy. The people
Mhm.
you bring around you, what you give, it's all energy.
Yeah, it
And
sure is. I tell people all the time, they may think I'm getting a little woo woo on them, but, but be the energy that you want to see in the room.
Mhm.
If you want an upbeat, positive energy and you want creativity and you want joy, then be that energy. If you want doom and gloom, then bring that energy because they are noticeably different, not just in how people perceive it, but also how you feel. I mean, you
Yeah.
feel completely different. So be the
Yeah.
energy you want to be in the room. Be
And
the
that's what
bright
color
color.
is. That's what color is. It's all
Yeah.
energy, and that's probably why it is so powerful.
Yeah.
You
So this is like a crazy question. Okay. But
okay.
I was at this big event.
Mhm.
This was years ago, like 3 years ago. and a bunch of strangers, you meet up. And so I'd met these ladies, we were chatting. They were at the bar and I'd walked up to the bar to get something to eat. I mean, there was like 2,000 people at this event. Right. And this one lady, one of her things was, she could detect what your spirit animal was. I'm like,
I've heard
I have a
that
spirit
before.
animal. I never thought about that. She asked me a few questions and then she told me my spirit animal. Can you, let's bring that story up to say, can you tell people's color by their personality or by their energy or by the vibe that they put off? Can you kind of get close to what like the color they would be in the color spectrum?
No, I don't think I have that.
It's okay.
Talent.
It's perfectly okay. I don't have it either. So
Yeah, I don't have it through color. I feel that I'm pretty perceptive about people's energy and what is coming towards me as a person, but I don't see it in color.
okay.
And I have to genuinely say that because I really believe the best in people, I usually really feel good energy coming from people. So I
Understood.
think that what you believe, you get back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Laura, I appreciate you being here. It's been
Oh,
a fantastic conversation. I've learned a lot. I'm sure my listeners have learned a lot. So, if people listening to the episode would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you or to connect with you?
they could go to Laura at lovegoodcolor.com and they could email me or they could go on our website.
Awesome. So we'll make sure
Color.
that the website address is there, the email address is there, and then we'll link up your LinkedIn profile as well so that people can go check out what you're doing and follow you there as well. Guys, you remember the rules around LinkedIn. If you are connecting with someone that you haven't met before, be sure to hit that send note button. Let them know why you're connecting, that you heard her on the Trend Report and that you want to connect with her and learn more about what she's doing. Laura, I appreciate you. Wishing you all the best. I do hope, I feel like I've been saying this like every episode, but I do hope I get to see you in October at NeoCon if and when it happens. I know it's going to happen, but I hope I actually get to meet you in person, face to face.
I can't thank you enough, Sid. It's been so lovely. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here, and we will see you guys all next week. Take care.
Bye.